Good evening, gang. You're back with Born for Such a Time. I'm Born. You can just call me Born. We'll settle in my midnight armchair again because, as promised, we're back again with Legalism, Freedom, and God's Laws, Part 6, and we are on commandment number 8. And as many of you probably already know, that is, Thou shalt not steal. So, with a lot of these commandments, I've noticed probably a lot of us think that we've never even come close to doing some of these. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. But we have discovered that there are finer points to these. And so we're going to see quite a few of those tonight. So settle back. And if it wasn't as warm there today as it was here, you might want your blankie. Mine's here if I get cold, but kind of toasty here today. So we won't be needing it. All right, so let's dig in. Commandment number 8, thou shalt not steal. But what is stealing? So I like dictionary.com because it uses a lot of the old definitions. A lot of them seem to come almost out of scripture. And so I really feel like it gives us a less whitewashed perspective and goes back to some of the old ways, some of the original definitions, some of the original meanings, and the ways that I've kind of understood words over the years. And sometimes it even surprises me, and I like to learn new things from it. So I went to dictionary.com and it describes it as 3 things. And so I thought we'll break them down into all 3 and we'll kind of give some examples so that as we go along, we're sure that we kind of understand together what it's talking about. But I noticed that all of the actions of stealing that it breaks down stem from a lack of personal integrity. Number 1, taking, and in brackets, the property of another or others. So taking without permission or right, the property of another or others, especially secretly or by force. This is the classical definition that we all think of when we hear the word steal, and also called theft. Many would believe that they have not broken this commandment with this understanding of this word. But let's think about it a little bit more in some finer detail. How many of you have not pointed out the mistake of a bank teller who gave you too much cash in your withdrawal, or the cashier who paid you too much change? Do you realize that this can come out of their pay? If that drawer doesn't match what it's supposed to by the end of the night, I know it used to be at least that money came out of their pay. They're suspected of stealing it. It makes them feel horrible at the end of the day. Their boss doesn't trust them. He doesn't know that they didn't just take it or keep it or give it to some friend. And that extra money had to come from somewhere. Somebody lost in order for you to gain. If you don't say, oh, I think you gave me too much. This is $5 too much. Here, let me give that back to you. Without exception, the people that I've done that with have been completely floored that somebody took the time to look at the mistake and say, oh, this is not mine. This is yours. I think you gave me too much. Oh, thank you for mentioning it. I really appreciate it. And my brother says that people who break laws and hurt other people and lie and steal, and he says that because they're going to a hot place, we all know where that is, they're paying their heating bill for that hot place when they break the rules and they hurt people and they break the commandments. And so over $5 too much handed to me by a cashier that I could easily just slip into my pocket and go get myself a coffee. I'm not willing to put a $5 down payment on my heating bill. Another example is a parent in the grocery store. I have seen this so many times. It floors me that this doesn't seem to enter into the mind of the parent, the example that they're giving, that other people are seeing it, that this is theft. Allowing their child to eat something like a protein bar or a chocolate bar while riding around in the cart, and then leaving the empty wrapper on a shelf and not paying for it. How many times have you seen this? You watch them, they give the bar to the child, and you think, well, maybe they're going to hand the wrapper to the cashier when they get up there, but they surreptitiously, and there's that secretly. See, stealing secretly. they surreptitiously just set the wrapper down in the banana aisle and hope that nobody noticed it. Well, the store comes by later, finds the wrapper. Oh, we've been stolen from again. What a horrible feeling that is. We used to run a shop and retail shop, and that is an eye opener. And we had a couple of people get away with a couple of things, but I'll tell you, I was on them because that is the family's money. That was a family store. When we went home at night, that money went to pay for dinner. And so when this parent lets this child eat this chocolate bar or whatever and then doesn't pay for it, they're stealing that store's money. And you can't decide, well, those people have lots of money, they're business owners. That is not our right. We should never take something that belongs to someone else assuming they can afford to lose it. So that grocery store had to pay for that item, which is now written off as a loss, and the costs will increase at the store, and then we all have to pay for that theft. So that's kind of the typical idea of thou shalt not steal. So what's the second one? All right, here's the second definition. Appropriating without right or acknowledgement. So appropriating ideas, credit, words, etc., without right or acknowledgement. This can either be borrowing off the credibility of another or tearing down that person's reputation for your own gain. Another example of my brother, he had a better reputation at church than his friend did. And so when they were boys and they would do something silly and they would get in trouble in front of other people, this boy who had done so many things that he kind of lost his credibility with the people at church would say, oh, it was his idea, and try to borrow on my brother's credibility. My brother hated that. That is stealing. It's stealing my brother's reputation. And also another one would be or tearing down that person's reputation for your own gain. I think gossips like to do this. I think it makes them feel superior. Well, I got the gold star in my classroom, and so only got the silver, and I kind of think they cheated on their test, and I think that's why I got the gold star because I studied, and I think they cheated. We should not be climbing the ladder on the backs of other people around us. That's stealing. Plagiarism is an example of this, something that kids today are doing, using AI to do their writing assignments. My niece said that she can no longer choose writing topics for her paper in class because so many kids were using AI to create their writing papers for them that the teacher now has to assign topics. I don't know how that gets around that issue, but apparently in some way it does. When I was in college, if you plagiarized your paper, our professors had a program that they could run your paper through, and it would find if there was other writing that was similar enough to what you had turned in that it could be proven to be plagiarism. And I remember we were all in the gym, and we were at the end of a class, and we're kind of waiting for the teacher to come in, and she said, where's, and I'll just throw a name out there, where's Bob? And we're all like, well, he's not here today, we don't know. And she says, oh, well, I need to find him because I just ran his paper through the plagiarism test on the computer, and he plagiarized it, and he is in big trouble. And we all went, ooh. And I don't remember if we ever saw Bob again, but that's stealing. You are robbing the livelihood of the original author. They sat down, they took the time, they put it all together. They should get the credit. They should get, if there's any monetary gain attached or any influence or higher position at the university or in their job, that's theirs. That's not ours. We are not free to take it. All right, number three, taking, getting, or winning insidiously, surreptitiously, subtly, or by chance. Fraud is stealing, selling an item with a false representation. I also remember when I was at the university and I was taking my business classes, and they said, be sure that in your business, if you do anything unethical, it will come back around. It will find you out. It will come back as a boomerang effect, and it will affect you with consequences, and it may even take you out. That may be the end of your business, but it will. I always figured that was God's hand in things. Sow the wind, reap the whirlwind. If you put out there bad things, it's going to come back. People are going to find out, oh, I never trusted that company. Oh, the products that they sold were bad, and I had to buy another one, and I sure wasn't buying it from them. Or when it failed, they wouldn't take it back, or they lied to me, or that gets out there, and you and me and the person you're sitting with all have multiple stories we could tell. Well, we knew that was coming. We knew that business was going down because of the way they treated people. So I remember as a kid watching a gum commercial that claimed, and I'm Gen X, so this would have been, early 80s. You might remember the gum commercial that I'm talking about. Fun wild animals would come out to play if you bought and chewed their gum. I was little and I believed him. I asked my mom to spend her hard-earned money to buy the gum, and it turned out to be just average gum. No wild safari animals came out to play. I know you all saw that coming. This is fraud on a minor level. Fraud on a major level can steal retirement incomes. We think of Ponzi schemes. Inheritances. We think of like the stories we've all seen on TV of black widows who prey on the older man, and she marries him, and he gives her the inheritance that should have gone to his children, and then she disappears and often ends up in lawsuits. That's fraud. People's health, snake oil cures. Oh, this tincture with mostly alcohol will solve 12 different major medical issues if you'll just buy my dollar snake oil cure. And then he's on down the road to the next small town. And meanwhile, you have something that actually is hurting you. You spent the money on it and it did you no good. It can hurt your faith. It can steal your faith. The false prophets, we've all seen them out there on the internet, and miracle healers, where they'll hire someone to come into the crowd and say, "Put a cast on your leg, and then we'll put the juju on you in front of everybody, and then we'll break the cast off, and you can run down the hall, and then everybody will give their money to me, and I'll share some with you." Any number of scams and schemes that seek to part people from something of value to them, leaving them with something in return of little to no value. There are other less obvious forms of stealing carried out against our fellow man that leaves him worse off for knowing us. Half-hearted work. This has gotten really common since the pandemic. Now called quiet quitting is stealing. A laborer is worth his hire, but a man who will not work shall not eat. 2 Thessalonians 3:10. For even when we were with you, this we warned you of, that if there were any which would not work, that he should not eat. The Geneva footnotes for this verse tell a tale of workers in the church not being worth their hire. So I know that the priests were like the Levites, the tribe of Levi, were not to have to work. They were to be supported by the people because they were the priestly tribe. That was their career. And so they were to serve in the temple, and they were to eat of the food that was brought to the sacrifice, and they could eat and be fed that way, and the people were to support them. Very much like pastors are not supposed to have a second career to support themselves. The church is supposed to do it, but if they are false and you're having to support them, that's stealing. So it says this was the Geneva footnotes for that verse. What shall we do then with those idle-bellied monks, and it's capitalized, and sacrificing priests, the idle monks and sacrificing priests? A monk, saith Socrates, book 8 of his tripartite history. So a monk, which worketh not with his hands, is like a thief. So when you're supporting them and they're not doing an honest work for you in the temple, it's like a thief. Able-bodied people begging to be given the money that others have worked for is stealing. Remember this the next time you see a young person with all their arms and legs attached, standing on a street corner, demanding that you work and give them your money so that they don't have to. More often than not, they are making a monetary killing on that street corner, possibly even own a car and a house, and may even be putting kids through college on that money. I have seen this, I know, in a fairly prosperous little city near me. The local newspaper did some research on the guy who was at the gas station parking lot every day. They found out that he owned a home, owned a very nice car, and with the money that he was fraudulently begging from average people on the street, he was putting his children through college. Not exactly what you pictured when you hand a five through the window of your car, is it? My uncle worked for the city as a plumber, and he would watch the quote unquote homeless come from their homes right before dawn, lay down on the park benches, and right after the sun would come up, the city would come through and hand out all the stuff that they were giving them, and then the homeless would take it and leave and go back home in their cars. He saw it every morning. He saw it. And I was watching in another town near me where a guy was on the corner with his cardboard sign, I need money, anything will help, God bless. Well, does God bless the man who does not work? Does he say he should eat? No. So it's kind of a farce, isn't it? It's fraudulent. It's borrowing on God's reputation, saying that God will bless you if you feed me because I need you to feed me. But God says if that person will not eat, we are not to work to feed them. So anyway, back to the man. He's standing on the street corner with his sign, oh, I'm hungry, I need food. And I watched him fold up his chair, go around the corner down the side road, and get in his minivan and go home. I have pictures. I have seen this over and over. We have had misguided people in church and the family who have tried to hand them food and they just chuck it. They don't want it. They leave it. They chuck it. They're disgusted. They have other things they want. They want money. And a lot of times, if you were to give them food, they wouldn't want it. If you were to offer them a job, they wouldn't want it. This is not everybody, but I would say 9 times out of 10, the stories that I've personally witnessed where there was like a soup kitchen that had a work office connected to it, they said they couldn't drag those people into the work office to go and get a job. They just wanted the food. And usually what is happening is that this money is like if they were to go into Section 8 housing. You're not allowed to take drugs in Section 8 housing, and so they flunk out of it and they end up on the street because they won't quit these habits. So what we're doing when we hand those people money is that we're often feeding a drug or alcohol addiction, and we are enabling their self-destruction. And that begging is fraud because they're not really hungry usually. Now, things can happen to anybody. You can end up on the street. But if today, think about it, if today you lost everything, wouldn't you go and say, I will work for food? If you're at that soup kitchen, I will help clean up. If you'll feed me a bowl of soup, I'll help serve. I'll help clean. I'll help cook. I'll do something. If you can give me a bed, I'll wash the laundry tomorrow. I know that I would not be able to just suck off of humanity. It's fraud. Okay, so where were we at? All right. Okay, then here's another thought. Greedy, grasping mistreatment of those who work for you is stealing. A person I know owns a prosperous business and has withheld the money he owed to an employee who I spoke with. I know the business owner, and I ran into one of his employees who had to get a different job, and he told me how he was fraudulently treated by this man. He had to leave. The man owed him money. He had to leave and get a different job. And I happen to know that the man who owed him money has a prosperous business. He has a new pool numerous cars, and tiki bars filled with booze. This is stealing, and this man is out there trying to make up the money that this other guy owes him. James 5:4. Behold, the hire of the laborers which have reaped your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of hosts. So God is aware when a laborer is worth his hire, we've hired him, we've told him what we're going to pay him, then we refuse to pay him. The cries of the innocent and the vulnerable go up to God, and it's going to come back on us if we do that. Habakkuk 2:6a. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Ho, he that increaseth that which is not his, how long? It is unjust. It breaks the hearts of the people. It causes them to want to give up, but they just have to get a second job to make up for what you have not paid them that you owe them. Withholding love is stealing. If you have made a commitment to someone, whether it be a spouse, child, or parents, and you have gone cold towards them, you are defrauding them of companionship and care. This is emotional theft. Think about that. That can be in various levels. I know we've all watched the Christmas movies where the dad is always working and he's never home and he doesn't get to go to the kids' school play and he's not there for Christmas dinner, and he says, well, I was working and I'm doing it all for you, and he ends up losing his family because he has defrauded them emotionally. And it's just something to consider. That can come in all various levels, can't it? This is sad. Are we stealing from God? This may be one you have never thought of. Our body, soul, and spirit belong to God, and we are stealing from Him when we don't live for Him. Also, because stealing is sinning and is a transgression of a known law of God, it separates you from Him. There's that relationship again. How else may we be getting ourselves in trouble with God via theft? I was thinking of that old scripture from the King James Version, will a man rob God? So I looked it up in the Geneva, and it meant something slightly different than I had always thought. It is Malachi 3:8-11. Will a man spoil his gods? And I looked up spoil, and it means defraud, and gods was the small g, like the idols, like Baal and Buddha and Ra, and we can think of a million of them, can't we? So, will a man defraud his gods? Yet ye have spoiled me. This is God talking. But ye say, wherein have we spoiled thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have spoiled me, even this whole nation. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven unto you, and pour you out a blessing without measure. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruit of your ground, neither shall your vine be barren in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. Okay, so let's go back and kind of try to understand this a little bit. God is saying that those who believe in superstitions, idols, and false gods would even be too scared not to bring sacrifices to them, thinking that they would not have a good crop this year, or a tsunami would sweep their village away, or they would stop having healthy children. So out of superstition, they think perhaps that if they bring Buddha his orange and light his candle, that he will make sure that their wheat comes in and they can harvest it and they can feed their children. So they would be too scared not to bring Buddha his orange because maybe their harvest would fail. So even those people are too scared to rob their God. But we who believe in a living God who made the world don't always think to give God his due, his tithes and his offerings. But we believe in the living God who made us, made everything we own, gave us our ability to earn a living, have decided to rob him by not sharing that bounty through tithes and offerings. God wants those to continue his good work on the earth via his church and missions around the world. He even promises that he will bring you in abundance and protect you from the devourer. And we all know what and who that is, don't we? He will protect your living and cause your money to spread farther, and he will also bring you blessings without measure. Please realize that I am not touting the prosperity doctrine, as the love of money is the root of all evil. But you can be assured that God will make certain that your house is financially stable if you make sure his house is, by giving of the increase that he has made it possible for you to earn. Realize who the devourer is. Satan wants to steal your abundant life from you. John 10:10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life and have it in abundance. How can we have this abundance? Through industry and generosity toward God and our fellow man. The opposite of stealing is giving. Acts 20:35b. Remember the words of the Lord Jesus, how that he said, it is a blessed thing to give rather than to receive. Ephesians 4:28. Let him that stole steal no more, but let him rather labor and work with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give unto him that needeth. Rather than stealing when the opportunity presents itself, bring God's blessings upon yourself and your household by finding ways to safeguard the goods of those around you. And I have a little note for those of you who read my text post on Substack. On my, I do a text Substack first, then I do the podcast, and then, which is the video version, but it also creates an audio version that you can download. So if you want to go running or listen to this in your car, you can download the audio version of this on substack.com, born for such a time. Okay, so for the Substack text version readers, I made a promise. Please listen to my podcast for my freezer illustration. Okay, so sometime back, my dad had a heart condition, and they're in their 70s, my mom and my dad, and she and I were home, and he was with us, but he can't really help us much. And it was the middle of July, and I buy grass finished beef and pastured pork and various organic fruits and things. So I have this huge freezer because I have to buy them in like a quarter beef, half a hog, huge bulk products, and seafood from Alaska from a little fishery up there, so that everything is as healthy and clean as possible. So you can imagine the value of what's in that freezer. And it died in the middle of July, and it's, in the 80s. And how long is your freezer going to last in the 80s when the power to the freezer has died and is melting down? So what are we going to do? My brother's at a revival camp meeting, can't reach him, other side of the mountains. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Okay, well, we'll go buy one. We have the pickup. So we go to the hardware store. We find the guy in the hardware store is able to help us load it into the pickup. But when we get home, which is 20 minutes away from the hardware store, it's going to be my 73, 74-year-old mom, dad with a heart condition, and me in a pickup trying to get this huge freezer out of the truck into the house and out onto the back deck. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? So, but we got to have the freezer, so we're loading it in the truck. And this young guy shows up with his wife, and he says, how are you going to get that freezer out of the truck and into your house? We have absolutely no idea. He says, I'll help you. Where do you live? Well, it's like 20 minutes from here. I'll follow you home. Are you kidding me? No, I'll follow you home. 20 minutes, no problem. Oh my goodness, God bless you. What a miracle. He followed us home. He helped unload that freezer. He got it onto the porch. We got it plugged in. I tried to give him money. He definitely got hugs, I have to tell you. I tried to give him money. He would not take it. I gave him my business card, and I said, if you ever need anything, I will help you. And he's got my card, but he's never called it in to this day. And it's a beautiful thing to give to others. We were on a road trip last summer with my, oh my goodness, a 43-foot fifth wheel, 20-foot truck, I 90, just came out of the pass, 40 minutes out of Missoula, and the RV dealership had overinflated the tires. One of them blew, shreds everywhere on the side of the road. Hot summer, sitting there trying to figure out what we're going to do. And um, 3 guys showed up to help. Well, this is Montana. I mean, I've told you, Montana, I love you. One guy with military pulls up with his beautiful, huge fifth wheel in his truck. He's got a ramp. He's got the right size jack. Our jack was not heavy enough. He had a 40-ton jack. He had this beautiful ramp because his fifth wheel was bigger than mine, and he's going to help. And then this other man pulls over with his pickup, and he comes back to help. And then a third guy goes by, and he's going to come in and help us, but he sees the other 2 guys, and he waves. And they were so, that was, to me, that was the God in those guys. And again, hugs everywhere, hugs, hugs, hugs. And it really caused me, and I have to admit to getting a little bit jaded on helping people in the area that I live, because they tend to be cynical and caustic and critical. I've tried to help people here, and most of them are good about it. But I've had people actually be mean to me when I tried to help them, and it tends to kind of want to turn you off. But I have to remember that most of you out there are good people. We need to help each other. We need to ask God, is this a good scenario where we help each other? And I have to say that right after that, we were in a little ghost town in Wyoming, and an older man and his wife had a flat way out in the middle of nowhere. And I looked at my brother and I said, we got to help those people. Think about the guys that helped us. And so we did. We had fixed a flat. We had all kinds of torque wrenches. We had all kinds of help. And we went and helped them and got them back on the road. And they were very grateful. But it is really important that we remember that we're all in this together. And rather than taking the opportunity to take advantage, I see so many times somebody posts a video of somebody's misfortune, and I'm thinking, instead of standing there with your phone and taking a video of that, why don't you go help the person? And then we wouldn't have the video, but the guy would be better off. And what are you doing standing there taking a video when it would have been easy to reach over and help the guy? On my soapbox. Okay. All right. So that's my freezer illustration. Remember what Jesus said, which is very similar to what our parents told us at Christmas. For it is most assuredly true and will keep you from violating the 8th commandment, bringing blessings into your life. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Selfishness makes us miserable, but giving brings joy. And that was number 8. We got 2 more to go, and then we will be nearing the end of our legalism, freedom, and God's laws. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. Moving on to number 9 next, coming soon. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.